Max.
Great to see you.
So good to see you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Let's have a look at the show.
Yes, amazing.
I met Hollein at the exhibition.
And let's talk right below us, the Chinese bronzes, an amazing collection. And talk to us about how long it took to put this together and just what your vision was for this exhibit.
Well, first of all, of course, this is an exhibition that's revelatory. It's a trailblazing exhibition. It's the catalog will be the standard of how to look at this whole development of bronzes from the around 1100 to 1900. It's an exhibition that is also done in great collaboration with our colleagues of the Shanghai Museum. And it's basically also the manifestation of deep scholarly work that's rooted here at the museum. We have, of course, outstanding curators, especially Peng Liang, who are outstanding experts, but who also saw a need to get certain things, to straighten certain things so to say out and to get certain things right. What this exhibition really does is introduce the art of Chinese bronze making as a suddenly like a new moment that started around 1100 and went through until 1900, where it was basically not only the craftsmanship and the artistry, but a really clear artistic mission that brought artists to bring these objects alive. Some of them, yes, they are all rooted towards the past, like any great artist, like any painter would kind of go back to the history of painting. So that the bronze makers of a certain time look back and at bronze making in Chinese antiquity, but then created something new, fresh, something that basically either kind of build a bridge to the past, some of the antiquarian bronzes, or kind of almost like reused the function, redefined the function of a certain vessel and created something completely new and mesmerizing. And of course, also we can only admire the craftsmanship, the beauty, and I think also the innovation that comes to the fore here.
And that's why the title kind of jumps out at you, Recasting the Past, because I think as you point out, and just chatting about this, it's like, oh, that was a mediocre time, like that, but it wasn't. And in some ways, that's the joy of this, isn't it? It's rediscovering art that's been kind of neglected or forgotten.
It's probably, on the one hand, not really being seen as what it is. It's also, if you don't have clear scholarship, and if you don't have, you need exhibitions, you need publications, you need expertise to help you lead the way, right? And so in this particular case, it's really an exhibition like this is not just something to present to our audience. It will change the course of our perception and of our understanding of 1,000 years, basically, of Chinese art history. And I think that's something really fundamental, something really fundamentally important, and something that we also share in regard to our passion, and I think also our deep scholarship with our colleagues in China. I think that's what this exhibition will be seen, I'm very sure, in hindsight, as an absolute milestone and a recasting also of art history in that context.
Max Hollein was appointed director of the Met in 2018 after leading the Fine Arts Museums of San Francisco, and before that, 3 of Germany's most prestigious art institutions, including the Städel Museum in Frankfurt.
I want to get to this exhibit, but one of the things, I've watched an interview with you, and one of the things I find fascinating about the Met is its history. That it would start with somebody going to the Louvre and coming back, we're going to do something grandiose. And then when you walk through here, they've met that challenge. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? Can you go back and recount kind of the historic legacy of this great museum?
Well, first of all, one has to really realize that during the time when the Met was founded, so let's say the second half of the 19th century, on the one hand, New York was the major hub of a lot of immigrants coming to New York, to the US, from Europe especially. And there was no real museum there was no cultural visual institution in New York City. The only museum was P.T. Barnum's circus, actually. So there were a couple of New Yorkers who went to Paris and they saw the Louvre in 1866. And probably in typical New York fashion, they thought, okay, wow, this is great. We want the same and we want it right now, right? But the problem was they didn't have one work of art, so there was no collection. They also didn't have a building, so there was no kind of palace that could be converted into a museum. And actually also they had fairly little money. But what they had is this spirit of can-do and this can-do mentality of New York, but of course also during a time, the Gilded Age, when everything kind of here came to the fore. So it took only 4 years until the Met got founded, and then until we opened our first museum. I mean, the beginning of this collection was probably a little bit both idiosyncratic, haphazard, so parts of the collection started to build up. Someone was an ambassador to Japan, so samurai armor came here, someone liked musical instruments, etc. So it kind of wasn't at the beginning immediately an encyclopedic universal museum, but it became that, and especially through American philanthropy, through the support and the generosity of many, many people, especially here in New York, but also from within the US and also internationally.
I was talking to one of your colleagues here, and they said, I really like his vision. He's innovative and forward-thinking. How do you combine both of those? Your vision for the Met moving forward and also kind of honoring these kinds of collections?
Well, for sure, this museum is about the cultures of the world, and we show so many different objects from so many different regions from across time. So in that context, we are currently changing about a quarter of our entire gallery system with new presentations, new narratives, new storytelling, new excitement, and I think also a new connection of our audiences with these objects that basically are among the best objects that humankind has ever produced.
The exhibition gives a glimpse into what life was like in ancient China. It features over 200 artifacts, including furniture and ritual bronze vessels. The show aims to highlight their artistic merit and cultural significance.
It's not just a day at the Met, it's a day at the beach, huh?
That's right. I mean, I love this particular object. This is an important loan. These are paperweights actually done in the 14th century. And you can see now with these kind of newer bronzes that basically it's not only just redoing the idea of a vessel, but actually creating new objects or bronzes. And the craftsmanship and the artistry is so outstanding, you can almost like feel as if they would walk away. And basically, initially these two crafts were not meant to be together, right? But they kind of fused together over 6 centuries, and now we see them as this fantastic object. So it tells you not only about the artistry of the time, but also about the survival of the object, and us resurfacing it as a major really manifestation of art from 7 centuries ago.
And it could create a whole nother conversation, which is just the care and actually excavating and finding these objects.
Indeed.
Amazing.
So look at how meticulously it comes. I mean, this is also bronze making at its very, very best. And you see the new technologies coming to the fore here, and it's just a magical piece. And again, also I think that the ability of us to kind of bring these loans together from many different places from China, and also the trust that our Chinese colleagues gave us to have these objects. Many of them are being exhibited outside of China for the very first time. I think this is a wonderful manifestation of the excitement, but also the trust that our Chinese colleagues have in our work and in our partnership.
The bronze retrospective underscores the dynamic interplay between tradition and innovation in Chinese art. It highlights how historical forms were not merely replicated, but reimagined to resonate with contemporary sensibilities and functions.
So let's talk about two of the words you just talked about, importance and passion. The passion that comes with, look, this is really important and we're going to put this on display. What's the general feeling when you're getting close to unveiling it to the public, knowing that, this, as you said, it's a milestone?
Well, this is, of course, an exhibition that our curators and especially Yang worked on for 4 or 5 years. And it's on the other hand also even based on basically a life of expertise. But then in the years towards the exhibition opening, many others kind of participate in the project. It's not only that the objects are beautifully lit, but then they kind of start speaking with each other, speaking to each other, creating these constellations, these dialogues. Having an ancient bronze vessel next to a bronze vessel that's done in the 13th century, or showing the progression of style over different dynasties. So all of that, I think, is something that only an exhibition can do in that beauty. And these are the most exciting days leading up to the opening then. And then we all, of course, also hope that it kind of will generate interest, excitement, and actually really people will enjoy seeing it.
In that phase of what you do, cultural diplomacy, opening people's eyes and minds to other cultures, how rewarding is that?
I'd say it's of course very rewarding. I sometimes am a bit almost like overwhelmed. As the director of the Met, of course, you are being welcomed, and basically people see the Metropolitan Museum really as a friend, and they should. The Metropolitan Museum is a museum here in New York City. It is an American institution, but it is also really a museum of the world and for the world. And so we do so many things across and around the globe, and basically it means a lot to people. In China, for example, when we come there, when we show an exhibition there, when we do a partnership, when I give a talk, etc., it's being seen as something that really is a major signal of respect, of collegiality, of sharing, of understanding of cultures, and of appreciation. And it goes both ways. And I think that's absolutely important ever since the Met was founded, and probably especially important also these days, where you have tensions around the world, when you have nationalism building up, where you want to make sure that it's museums, especially also this museum, that continues to build these bridges of dialogue, of exchange, of camaraderie around just really the joint understanding that we all come from one human culture, and that basically we can fuel each other in our appreciation for that.
The Met has also organized a series of related art and educational programs to complement this showing. These events aim to engage the public further and provide additional context to the themes explored in the showcase.
Getting back to the question of the world, for the world, we do have kind of this nationalistic trends cropping up all over the place, isolationists. Is this kind of an eye-opening? Is cultural diplomacy in a sense even more important in this day and age, do you think? Or is it just always going to be very, very?
I think these days it's probably more important than ever. I think it is basically a moment of not only to foster understanding, but also to continue dialogue and exchange, and moments where basically people can come together as visitors, but really also as partners. I think that it is meaningful, of course, that the Met collaborates these days with the Shanghai Museum, that you have New York and Shanghai as partners working together. It's something that is noticed and is appreciated, and I think it's important. I'm not an ambassador, I'm a museum director, but of course, to a certain extent, I represent that not only credibility of the institution, but this ambition and this idea of being together, of joining in a deeper dialogue, in a broader collaboration. And I think that these bridges, these connections are of utmost importance, especially in times like these.
Bridges and connections. Let me talk to you about patrons. I grew up going to museums. We're probably in this similar age bracket. We just kind of, museums always look kind of the same. Now it seems like young people want like trendier stuff and all that sort of thing. How do you remain, I mentioned that someone mentioned you were forward thinking, innovative. Do you always have to kind of think about the museum goers and how they're changing and the dynamics and how do you deliver to them? How much of that goes into what your thinking is each day?
I think the biggest change from museums that happened, maybe from compared to the time when we were young and went first time to museums, I think museums changed in principle from being a docent, meaning a museum that tells you what you should look at and what to see, to a convener, a museum that is kind of welcoming and accessible and where you can yourself almost like experience it, maybe together with others, and you convene objects, ideas, voices, sometimes different voices that allow you to look at things from various viewpoints, from various angles. Basically, you come here indeed, and you have a kind of almost like you devote your time. But of course, museums, and especially this one, of course, as well, have found ways to get you engaged, get you appreciate, of course, the object itself, but then also allow you to kind of be part of a broader conversation, be that through digital means, be that through ways how we are already in touch with you before and after your visit, and how we kind of expand also these narratives that we offer you in different ways. So I think it's museums kind of evolve in time and through time, and we are certainly also, we are not conservative institutions that stay baked into as if we are a period piece.
Recasting the past also addresses the broader cultural impact of later Chinese bronzes, demonstrating their influence on other art forms and their role in inspiring works across various media.
We had a chance to visit a little bit before we started rolling, and you mentioned you go to galleries, which kind of surprised me because like a lot of times when I'm on vacation, I'll flip on the news. My wife's like, you do this all the time, turn it off. Do you go as just a gallery goer, or do you go as a guy who's looking, oh, I like how they do this display, maybe we could do the same thing, or is it a little bit of both?
Yeah, so obviously I enjoy going to galleries, to other museums, because I love art and I love seeing different exhibitions, different experiences. I love seeing contemporary art. I love to see older art. So all of that is, of course, part of my joy. But one has to be careful indeed that you then don't look at this label. So who owns this object, and shouldn't we also ask this owner for something? Or I mean, all of these things. So the déformation professionnelle, as you say in French, of a museum decorator is probably you veer off then from the sheer excitement, and you become have a certain like professional attitude about it as well. But I think I'm still keeping that balance somewhat okay. But it's true. I do a lot of busman's holidays. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let me ask one final question before I let you go, because I know you probably run off to another meeting or something else. All of us at some point have to retire, hang them up, move on. What would you like to be remembered as or for when you leave?
I mean, I love to be a facilitator. I'd love to be a facilitator first, of course, for the people who work here with their whole passion. And people work here because they love the museum, they love what they do, and they know they're doing something really meaningful. And I think so for a curator to conceive a show like that, to kind of create that I think I want to make sure that with all my energy, with my passion, I'm able to facilitate that. But then I also want to make sure that we jointly, as a whole group, and also with all of our supporters and donors, are able to further evolve this institution, to move an institution that's so important for so many people, that's so beloved in the city and around the world, that we are able to not only make it sustainable, but really further evolve it into a continuous museum of, in this case, of the 21st century. I think that's just a really important task, and something that's also extremely fulfilling.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.